I am very excited about this next segment because I didn't know I was going to be a part of it until about an hour or two ago, when we had a cancellation due to work, and then we found a replacement, and we had a cancellation due to child sickness. So now I am here. I'm on baby watching duty simultaneously, but baby is currently sleeping, so we'll see how this goes. But there is a chance I might leave and get baby. But in the meantime, let's talk to the people who are going to be running this. One of my absolute favorite shows on the Geekscape network, Napping Through Happy Hour. We have Katie Hampton and Marie Brand.
Hello! How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I love so fun story about this I told earlier. Barb, my girlfriend's kids, had a Santa secret workshop thing this week at school where they could go and buy gifts for their loved ones. And in the short time that they've lived here, boy, did they know me well, because one of them bought me a gigantic kazoo that I've been using all night. And the other one got me a magnetic thought bubble to put on the fridge that's dry erase. So you can leave messages in the thought bubbles. So, I mean, A plus across the board for both of those kids. I think I'll keep them. I think I'll keep them around. I like it.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, dude. That's so awesome. And how's the donations going? Are we donating out there, folks?
Yeah, come on. So it's so funny. I run from midnight until 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I run like a highlight reel of the past year, like past segments from years past. And I completely forgot that last year during the Napping Through Happy Hour segment, we raised like an additional $300, and we couldn't tell if it was because you were auctioning off your Polar Express giant coffee mug.
I'm pretty sure it's still here somewhere. I actually don't know where I put it, but oh yeah, it's actually just right here. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, let's jacket. Let's bring in our guest Erik J. Brown too, because I think he'll have some commentary on this oversized
Polar Express mug. It for all of your cocoa needs. It's giant. If you donate over $100, I will send this to you free of charge. If you're a big Polar Express fan.
How many of them do you have, or do you just?
I just have one.
Just didn't send it out last year.
Well, so someone did donate $100, and then it was just a family friend who happened to donate during their segment and had no clue what was happening. And they were like, please do not send me a giant coffee mug.
And I was like, well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Erik, what are your feelings on the Polar Express?
I have never watched it.
Probably best.
I was gonna say, as much as I'm a Christmas guy, I don't think I've seen it in its entirety. The animation freaks me out, and I usually tap out.
I've seen clips, and it's the whole uncanny valley thing is very creepy for me. And like, I don't mind. I've seen the Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey. I watched that.
Yeah.
But I think it was okay because it was Jim Carrey, because Jim Carrey's in weird stuff, and that's like my brain's already prepared for it. But
he's already an uncanny valley in and of himself. Yeah.
There's something about Polar Express, and also it's like such a short little book. I'm like, how did you turn this into an hour-and-a-half movie? And then I saw the like dancing flips and stuff on the car.
Oh, they try. Yeah.
So.
I saw that movie in the theaters in an IMAX. So it was huge, and I think that's where we got the Polar Express mug. But yeah,
I think I watched it after we talked about it because I
last year
to like, not watching it at all, and I was like, no. There was so much talk about it. I mean, it was almost a whole happy hour that we talked about it. So I watched it and I regretted it because so creepy. It's a really creepy movie.
It's unfortunately creepy. It brings a lot of like nostalgia for me because I saw it with my mom. It was one of the last movies I saw with my mom in theaters, but it is not the best movie to have nostalgia for.
So, can you spoil it for me? And if anybody's watching right now, just kind of cover your ears. I'll give you a thumbs up if you don't want it spoiled for you. Why is Santa kidnapping all of the children and taking them to the North Pole?
Well, it's Christmas Eve, and they don't have enough Christmas spirit, so they get carted onto a train to reinvigorate their Christmas spirit with hot cocoa and lovely sweets, and then they get to tour the North Pole through the Polar Express. And many things that are going on that trying to make the Polar Express not get to the North Pole, I think. But also, yeah, it's the animation that's weird. It's like it's a thin storyline, I'd say.
It sounds like the children are just hostages at this point.
No, it's 100% that. Yeah. It's kind of like the show 100. And they just like throw them on a train and then they have to survive in the North Pole for like a couple of hours and then they get carted back.
Thousands of them are ripped apart by polar bears because there were polar bears back then.
Well, that's a movie I would have watched. I would have enjoyed it.
Polar Express, the 100 edition.
Well, I mean, I think all of you missed earlier today when I played a marionette Christmas special from like the 60s to kick off the live stream. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of kind of can't look away, but a little scary, Uncanny Valley, I think that's right up there with Polar Express.
Oh, 1000%.
Marionette's creepy.
So, Marie, let's start talking about what are we doing here. You are the game master today.
I am, and it's actually. I mean, we're doing an abridged or abbreviated version of the full game. But today we're playing. I can't believe. Well, here we go. Can you see it?
I can't believe I did that.
I can't believe I did that. From the makers of Mortified, which speaks a lot to what this game is all about. But essentially, we're all going to tell some fun stories about our life. We're going to get to know each other a little bit better, and I think that's perfect for this group. I have some great memory cards here. We decided to do it a little different than the game is actually played, just for internet's sake and just to make it a little easier. But I'm going to reach down into my random grab bag of memory cards. I'm going to pick them. I love that you can't see with my green screen. My house is a mess, so I had to do it. But I'm going to reach down into my little grab bag and at random pick out a memory card, and you're going to tell us a story about a moment when something similar happened to you that fits with this card. I'll just give you an example. Let's see here. A moment when you were painfully uncool and the biggest misfit wins. So we would all tell a story about when we were painfully uncool. I've got plenty of those. So we don't have to start with this one. But I'm just going to go for it if y'all are ready to share a little bit more about your painful memories. Let's go.
Let's unpack some trauma.
Yeah,
Yay!
that's what it's gonna be.
Happy hour.
That's really what we're all about. All right. All right, here we go. I'm excited to learn more. I'm shuffling these cards badly. I'm just going to pick from the top. Hopefully it's a good one. Today, our first story is, oh God, a moment when you were irritatingly responsible. Biggest den mother wins.
Oh, okay. I already know the story I'm going to tell. And this one isn't even that far behind in my own childhood. This is like in the last 10 years.
Okay.
So my family took a trip to Disney World, maybe 2018, 2019. And my brother was staying at a different hotel than the rest of us. Him and his fiance stayed at one hotel and we stayed at another. And my brother booked us a character's breakfast at Belle's Palace. And so we get to the front and we're waiting for my brother, who texted us and said like, hey, just parked the car. I'm on the boat on the way there. I should be there in the next like 10 minutes. And we walk up to the front and they say, is your whole party here? To which my family said yes. And then I said, well, actually, one of us is making their way here from
Matthew.
the front. And what ended up happening was that my brother who booked the breakfast didn't get to enjoy breakfast with us because they set us as the number that was currently there at that moment, and he had to quickly find somewhere else to eat.
Oh,
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
yeah, that's a
Solid.
good one. I like
That's a
that
good
one.
Eric,
Katie, I
do
feel
you
like
have
you.
one?
Oh, or okay.
I mean,
yeah.
I den mother
Sure, you've
like
got a
crazy.
I don't think I'm a responsible person ever, so I don't even think I can have something that like would make me a den mother. I've been trying to think. There was the closest thing I could even possibly do is it involves a crime, so I probably shouldn't say anything.
Oh my God, say it louder though.
No, we got caught for it, and they broke me down. See, I'm not the kind of person. So here's what happened.
Okay.
What happened was this. It was what's it called? Those days when they're doing like PSSA testing it was state testing for Pennsylvania, and our class didn't have to do it. It was supposed to be like sophomores and seniors only, I think, or freshmen and juniors, something like that. And so we were out. We got early dismissal that day, and my friends and I were all hanging out. And this one girl had just gotten broken up with by this guy, and she cheated on him, or he cheated on her. And so to get back at him, we decided to vandalize his car while he was in school. Oh. And so we went to the grocery store and we bought a jar of pickled pig's feet.
What happened?
And this was a warm April day. So
Whoa.
Pull up into the parking lot, hop out. She opens it, dumps the congealed pig's feet onto his car, hops back in, and then we drive away. We're idiots. And we decide to return to the scene of the crime. Not supposed to do.
No.
And we watched to see his reaction. He's all pissed off and everything. And I don't know how he found out it was us. But we pull out and just start driving away. And all of a sudden, we notice that he is following us.
Oh, no.
And so my friend, Brandon, decides that he is going to drive his mother's minivan at 45 miles an hour through the suburbs of Delaware County, trying to make quick turns and lose this guy who is driving a Mustang, by the way.
No.
He caught up to us, told us we were assholes, and that was it. But then the next day, of course, we get called into the principal's office, and they separated us. And they were like, well, listen, we know because the neighbor across the street saw you guys do it. So they told that to me, and I was just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then they made me write something, write the whole thing down. And it was all a lie. I just didn't watch Law and Order and realize that's what they do. They put the pressure on the weak one, and I was the weak one.
Oh, no.
So I guess that's me being a den mom, being like, oh, you got me, kids.
I love that. Really, the essentials of these stories is that the den mother is just the one who gives the truth faster.
Yeah.
I don't like to lie.
I'm trying to. I mean, Marie knows that I am very much a den mother. Like I have my schedules and my things that I like to get. I sent Marie a invite link for today with notes on people that we were gonna have on that I had to delete. But yeah, no, I can't think of anything off the top of my head unless Marie, you could think of something. But I know I've ruined some parties.
I was gonna say is I have something very recently that I did, and that my partner gives me a hard time for. So every year, and I don't know if this fits, but I'm telling the story. Every year, my mother at the high school she works at puts on a very big, what is it called? Where you walk through a haunted house.
Okay.
For her and the high school kids all build one, right? Yeah. And it's really good, and they take the money for charity, well, for the band to earn money so they can go on trips and things like that. So it's a big deal, and a lot of the community comes together to go visit it, and like people stand in line, and it's like an hour and a half line to get through this haunted house. So I was already like revved and ready to go, and we have been standing in line for probably an hour, and these two young high school girls started to sneak up beside us, and I was like, oh, I think these girls are trying to cut. Now, mind you, they're like, that is one of the things that is a pet peeve of mine, to try and cut. Don't you do it? I don't care if you're old. I don't care if you're in a wheelchair. I don't care.
Get to the back of the line.
You gotta wait.
I've been to Universal with Marie. I know this.
Do not cut. So it was short and simple. I told on them very quickly.
It is about telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's about telling the truth.
Yeah, and all of a sudden they were gone, and my mom had taken care of it. And so that is my irritatingly responsible moment, telling on some 15-year-olds for cutting in line at a high school haunted house. So that's me.
They can't get those scares for free. No, you got to wait to get those scares.
Yeah. You
well,
really do.
I kept saying that, they got to learn young. You don't want them to grow up entitled. You got to teach them young. You don't cut in life. So you don't cut in this line.
That's a slogan I'm going to think about for a really long time. You don't cut in life, so don't you cut in this line. Go. Truer words have never been said.
I feel like that's going to be your new parental advice.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
I mean, going off of that, I feel like my most recent one was I did a trivia game show for a friend's elementary school, and it was parents and for kids as well. And I've told this story on the actual podcast before, but hey, we're telling it again. And I had written all original trivia and stuff specifically for the kids and the age group of the parents. And there was this one little boy who was so excited to be playing this trivia game, and he was like, "My team's gonna win! My team's gonna win!" And the winning person got $100, so like I was really rooting for him. Yeah. Just a little white boy, just like coming up and just like, we're gonna win. I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, we get to the end of it, and it just so happens that he doesn't even place.
Oh no!
In it, like his team doesn't get anywhere near enough points. We even had like if you make us laugh, like you get extra points for that, and we would give him a prize. If you had the most ridiculous whatever, like you would get a prize. And so it was sort of like their team, just all they did was just say, we're gonna win. And I was like, okay. And so I had to read out all of them, and this kid is just so prepped and ready, because every chance he got, he would come up to me, any break, he would come up and just be like, because we're winning, right? Are we winning? And I was just like, I don't know, man, we'll see the final points. And I was like, watch the points on the screen as they come up. And I go through the whole, here's the third place, here's second place, here's first place, here's the funniest team. And then when we finally do first place, his face falls so devastatingly hard. And he just like stands there, and everybody's like saying thanks, and they're clearing out and everything like that. And he's still standing there, and he starts to cry. And I was like, buddy, you played a really great game. I was like, I was really rooting for you guys. And he was just like, okay. Like, I'm so sorry, buddy. And I was just like, it's just not how the points worked out. And I was like, but like, That's okay. And as I told one of our Alyssa, our guest, when I told this story on the podcast, I couldn't help but think, because it was the week of the election results, I couldn't help think, you gotta learn now.
Yeah.
You gotta learn now.
Well, but you know what? I'm going to bounce that back on you, because here's the thing I've learned.
20.
Yeah, here's the thing I've learned. No, not that. As someone who has been around children in different capacities, be it like a mentor or whatever, if you know that there's bad news that's about to happen, just like kind of ghost a little bit. Don't make eye contact. Don't look.
I tried to.
It's not your job to teach them how to be a good winner.
Good
Like that
loser.
is all on the family. It's
And I think a future white man will be okay. You know,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna win a lot.
Historically, things are going to play out all right.
You know, and like honestly, it was the only white male tears I saw that day, so it was kind of nice.
Yeah, look, like he's not gonna get used to no. So
Somebody's
you started
young.
off, yeah, you started it off like he's like, oh, that's a thing I might hear sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I think we're ready
love
for the next one.
I love it. Okay, I just happened to pull up one as we were speaking, and this probably fits in my last story, but a moment when you were a pain in the ass. Biggest annoyance wins.
Ooh, that is a good one. Because I am also of the white variety, and I know I've Karen'd a couple times.
I was like, I got another line cutting story, but
Man, line cutting stories are like your core.
Trying to think of like, so I worked in like retail and tech support and all of that, and like you would think that would make it where you are less likely to like put on the like I need to speak to a manager voice, but like I think that there's also an element that comes in where it's like, well, I know how I would have handled this phone call, and this person is going about it the entire wrong way. So like I need to work my way up the chain to like the person who's going to give me the answer that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to play back a few of my recent support calls with Apple because they're usually pretty prime for like you need to get moved up like one or two rungs to get to someone who will just like talk to you
as a human.
Yeah, like it's like I know how a computer works. Okay, like
I don't need to do the turning it on and off again.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where like I can't think of a specific story, but like there's definitely been times where I've been on a phone call where I've used the phrase like, well, does that make sense to you? You know, like where you just like where you just get like so, because I've said this before to people, like the one thing that will make me the biggest asshole is specifically like a thing not doing the one thing it's supposed to do.
Right.
Like if a printer is no longer printing, like I just jump to like unreasonable so quick because I'm like, the only reason I have you is to print things and you're not printing. So when I'm having like computer issues for like the one reason I bought the computer, like if I bought a computer specifically for video editing and the editing software isn't working, I just become like unhinged for a couple minutes until I like sit down and breathe. So I don't have a specific example, just I know I've been awful on some Apple support calls specifically.
But you kind of have to be annoying for those kinds of things. Like
you kind of have to. You're not going to get results if you're like, oh, okay. Like they'll talk you right into buying a brand new computer.
I take calls from my partner sometimes. I'm like, no, get off the phone. Let me call back. I'm you now. Give me your social. I'll tell them I'm you, and I will handle it. Because I used to work as a phone answerer, customer service in a customer service center. So I also know that a lot of times they just give their scripted answer. They give the first answer that comes to their head. They don't. There's no nuance to your problem. They just think it's all the same. So I definitely will request the manager pretty quick. And I always start off with, I know this isn't your fault, but I need to talk to a manager.
Right.
Yeah.
That's actually, so that just reminded me of a time when I had to be annoying because Verizon was being annoying with me. So before my husband and I went on our honeymoon this year, and before I went, I wanted to get an international plan. I just wanted it for 1 month, and I wanted it for April, half of April into like half of May, because that's when we were gone. And I called, set it up, and they were like, great, you're going to be all set for April or whatever. And I got a bill in March that they had already charged me for this international plan. And I was like, oh, no. I want it for April. And that's when I would like the time for this. And they're like, oh, yeah. We'll just credit you that back. No big deal. And I had been doing it all on like a chat support type thing. And I was doing a similar thing of just like, I know this is not your fault. I will definitely talk to you guys as you are human beings, just in case you are human beings. I was like, hope your day's going well, like going with all that bullshit, and they said they figured it out, whatever. Going on a honeymoon, it was great. Had the international plan. And then when I came back, I was like, okay, I'd like to cancel this. And they were like, great, it's canceled. And then the next month I got billed again. And I was like, no. So I go back on the same chat. And I was like, hey, I've been here before. I only wanted this plan for this month, for these times, and I don't want it any other time. So please give me my money back. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry about that. How's your day going or whatever? And I'm still trying to be nice. I'm just like, I'm great. I was also stoned at the time. So I was very chatty. And I was like, hope you're doing well. I know that like this is the time of year when like people get like really rough or whatever. So I hope you're all right. And like, you're not dealing with too many painful people or whatever. And they're like, no. You're all figured out. We'll send you your money back. Don't worry about it. The next month, it happens again, and I have to go back. And I was like, "No, this isn't happening. I'm not playing this bullshit. I'm angry, and I am angry for a reason." I was like, "This has happened 3 times. Do not let this happen again. If this happens again, I'm canceling my service." And they were like, "Oh, how's your day going?" And I was like, "I'm not responding until this is fixed."
Yeah.
There you go.
And then finally they stopped charging me. So
I definitely, because I kill me to get on a phone. Like that has to be the last call.
Yeah.
So like I'm like you. I'm usually in the chat, and like I've never actually said it, but there is that moment where you're talking to one person, and they're like, "Oh, I think we need to move this up the chain to someone higher up in support or whatever," and then you're literally starting at square one, and I'm always just like, did the previous person I just spoke to for an hour like give you nothing to work with? Just like send me over to you and said good luck.
I love that this is all around customer service. I feel like
actually now that so this is like tangentially mine, and it was when I worked in customer service. So the job that I worked for was the last real job I had before I started doing like the podcasting stuff. I worked for a company that basically is how every single used car dealership got their inventory on the internet. It all runs through one company.
Whoa.
Basically, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And this guy called, and he was like, and literally what he said to me, I'd only been there for about 2 weeks. And he said to me, "You guys are changing my prices, and I want to know why." And I was like,
fair.
Okay. And he's walking me through it. He's like, this car's supposed to be this much money, but it's showing up as this much money. And the way that our system worked was if someone manually logged in, so we would pull a feed from the car dealership every day with their prices. But if someone logged into our system and changed a price, it would lock that price because it would assume that they're changing the price because there's something wrong with the feed and that the feed shouldn't override that. and it tells you who types that in. It will say like, this was done by this user.
Yeah.
And it was him. I'm like, hey, it says actually that you changed this price. And he goes, that would have never happened. One of you must have figured out my login information and have been doing it with malice. And I was like, oh.
Wow.
So there was a guy, Will, who was pretty high up, and his only job was like, they called him the fireman. Like when there was like someone who was really unhinged, get them over to Will. Will put out the fire. And Will was like, you're new. Let me stay on the back of the call and you'll see how it's done. And all I can say about the call was that when all was said and done, Will walked over and was like, okay, well, that one is not how it's done. Because this guy, like Will literally got to the point where he was like, sir, I need you to understand. There are two options here, because what we found out was that he had given his login information to every employee at his dealership.
No.
And he goes, sir, one of two things happened. One of your multiple employees found was logged in and made a mistake. Or what you're proposing, that one of the 30 people here figured out the login for just your car dealership out of all the car dealerships in the entire United States and logged in to maliciously make your car $100 cheaper for no reason. He's like, now, which one of those options seems more realistic to you? And he goes, I only hire the best, so it has to be one of you guys.
Wow. Wow.
And then I heard Will really become an asshole. But,
at some point, you kind of have to.
Yeah, like it's like you're not even listening to even a little bit of logic on this one. Like you're just ready to be mad.
Oh lordy. I mean, yeah, some people are. Eric, have you ever been annoying?
Yeah. Pain in the ass.
I think I am, because it's like I'm the kind of person, if you like hit me, I apologize for denting your car. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that I was crossing this crosswalk and you ran me over.
I was gonna say, you live in a haunted house and you like usually complain that you're bothering the ghost. Like,
yeah, I feel bad. I mean, they're probably trying to take a nap right now.
I feel like we're kindred spirits in that way. Was there ever a point that it pushed you to like having to be like, you know what? I was nice for a while, but now I can't be. That's how I feel.
Yeah, but the thing is, my husband is a lawyer, so he loves arguing. So anytime I reach my like, okay, I'm going to become mean, I call him and I go, can you deal with this for me? And then he does, because then it means he doesn't want to argue with me ever. He's doing it at work. And then for a pleasure, he does it with the customer service representatives that I don't want to deal with anymore. So like, I'll give you an example of the time that he was the asshole.
Yes.
I love it.
We were going to Santa Barbara for our friend's wedding. And we get there. By the way, Santa Barbara Airport is adorable. Their like baggage claim is basically just this rolling shutter they throw open and they just kind of toss bags in, and that's it. And so we land, and it's a big full plane from Phoenix, because that's where our connection was. And they throw the thing open. The guy's there with a cart. He throws 5 bags out, shuts it, and leaves. And about 20 minutes later, nothing else ever comes out. And so we're like, well, where's everybody else's stuff, including ours, which has all of our clothes for this wedding weekend that we are in Santa Barbara for.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out they lost our bags. They forgot to put them on. Everybody from Philadelphia, they forgot to put it on the Phoenix flight. And so we go and just go to Banana Republic and buy stuff for the welcome party that night. Okay. And they're like, we're going to deliver it to your hotel room and it'll be there this evening. I was like, okay, that's fine. The next morning, we still don't have our bags. So we call them and they're like, oh, we're still trying to find them. We're going to be delivering them this afternoon. We go out, do sightseeing. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the wedding is at 4. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they still haven't delivered the bags. And now when we call them, we go to the airport. We're like, hi, we need our bags. And they're like, oh, we don't know where they are. I'm like, okay, well, who's buying us new suits? Because they need to be bought and tailored within the next 2 hours. And so we called, they like give us the customer service then. We call them, and what they do, what the airports will tell you is you can make any necessary and reasonable expenditures. And when I say, okay, well, we are here for a wedding, does that include suits? They don't say yes or no. They say, you can make any necessary, reasonable expenditures. And I said, you're recording this call. If we do not get our bag within the next hour, we are buying new suits. That is necessary. We will be reasonable based on however we can get them.
Yeah.
And they
what's
said, you can
available.
make necessary and reasonable expenditures. So we hang up. The only place that has a tailor like in store is Nordstrom. And so we go to Nordstrom, we're like, can you fit us for a suit and tailor it within an hour? The airport is going to pay for it, whatever it is. And they're like, yeah, we can do it. So they do it.
Oh, wow.
We miss the fucking wedding ceremony. We get there for we get there for the reception. And the next day we're like, you know what, fine, let's go back to the airport and just be like, we need to find out what happened to it.
Yeah.
Our bag was there the entire time.
Shut up.
They had it in Santa Barbara. It got there on a later flight on Friday. It was there the entire time, and they just didn't want to bring it. And the gate agent or the ticket agent told us this. And they're like, oh yeah, they always tell people they're going to drop it off, but they don't want to because they figure you're going to come eventually and show up. And I was like, why didn't they give it to us when we were here last time? She's like, I don't know.
What?
So we go to submit all of the receipts because there's like an online form, and they deny it. It was like $2,500, by the way.
Yeah,
so
because
they deny it. And they do not realize that my husband is a lawyer. And so he just writes up a letter and says, I am a lawyer. I am representing myself and my husband. This is everything. This is what happened. And if you do not pay us $5,000, we will sue you for even more than that. And so they gave us $5,000. They gave us the Admirals Club, the like American Airlines club that you can go into before the thing. They gave us free passes for a year.
Oh my God.
It was great. So that's why I get Mike to do everything. That's
okay. Wait a minute. Oh my gosh. I feel like your husband and my husband would be best of kin on that.
Let's just get them together. They can like tag team the customer service.
Yes. No, yeah, Mark is incredibly good at that. That is so. Oh, and you got the whole lounge thing. Was it? How was the lounge?
It's really nice, and it works with like other lounges that like in other countries that are part of the same partnership. And so the other like the American lounges are all kind of you can only get like shitty food and like some beer or wine, but the European lounges have like a full spread of like cheeses and meats and hot food and pastries, and they have like just bottles of liquor that you can mix your own drinks. They have champagne, they have wine, beer, and it's like you're checking in for like an 8 o'clock flight, and I'm like 8 a.m. and I'm like, well, I don't care. I'm gonna make myself a mimosa. It's free.
Yes, as you should. As you should. Oh, I'm so happy you guys got that.
I know. It's because of him. I wouldn't be able to do it without him.
Oh, I love that. I work for a law firm, so I can't wait to throw that at somebody someday. I'm waiting for the opportunity. Yeah.
Well, I work for a law firm, so let me just have them review this.
Let me just call up my boss real quick and see. But I love that. An attorney in the family, that's golden.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
I think
but I have a secret though. If for anybody watching, you don't actually need to hire a lawyer, because a lot of customer service is told that if you ever say you're going to contact the media or a lawyer, they will do whatever you want instantly because they don't want to deal with it. Because when it gets to that point, if it gets to like the point of a lawyer or like outside media, they have to then get their in-house counsel to work on it. And some people don't have in-house counsel, so they have to hire a lawyer to look at it and just like tell you to go away pretty much. So just threaten, say, I'm going to go to my lawyer or the media, and usually they'll do things really quick for you.
You know what? Exact same thing. My husband Mark, we had carpets in our apartment, and they had somebody come in and reglaze his bathroom. And the guy who was reglazing his bathroom with this like sealant paint type stuff spilled a whole big swath on our carpet. And dude looked like a stoner to begin with. And I was like, you're probably smelling too many paint fumes, whatever. Their company came out, assessed it, and they're like, yeah, that's our bad. We'll replace all the carpets. No biggie. But our landlord pocketed the money and never did anything for our carpets, like to replace them. So my husband, Mark, who is a comedian, frustrated lawyer, talked to my uncle, who is a lawyer, frustrated comedian, about all this. And he got some tips and advice, and he called our landlord a couple times, didn't pick up. He sent him an email that listed out all the reasons why he knows he pocketed the money, all of the interactions he had with the other company. And he's like, and if you do not respond to this within a certain amount of hours, I will be seeking litigation about this. Suddenly, he gets a phone call. And our landlord apparently was like, Mark, I don't appreciate being threatened. And he's like, well, I don't appreciate being yanked around for something that was supposed to be taken care of. So why don't we skip the foreplay and get to fucking?
Mark. I love Mark.
So we have nice new hardwood floors now.
Yes,
because of him. Oh, hello, baby.
Don't mind him.
Is there a baby on the screen? Is there a baby?
Right behind his shoulder, if you can see.
Is he watching us on the live stream?
He is. He's going, wow, she said something about fucking.
Sorry, Matt. Hey, since we're all in the holiday spirit and cussing already, if you donate now, get yourself a Polar Express giant mug.
Perfect for when you get kidnapped and get sent to the North Pole, because they have all of those hot chocolate thingies.
We did jump up to $314 so far. Geekscapegives.com, a great place where you can donate even just $1. It goes such a long way. There, I did my spiel.
I love it.
But do you have one more card for us? Maybe I think we can get another 10-15 minutes out of another card.
Yeah, I have one. A moment when you were a tad, let's say, emotional, most sensitive ones. I've got one right now. I've got the perfect story.
Go for it.
Actually, Katie already knows this has been the drama of the week for me.
This is why this will be our podcast for Monday.
Long story very short. I work as an event planning coordinator at a law firm, and a lot of my job is doing a lot of research and venue searching and contracting with venues for these big events that we're going to have. Well, we have rely on this program for all of our information, like when the date is and like what time it is and things like that. Like our marketing people put it in, and they say, this is the date and time, this is when it is. And I booked a very expensive venue based on that information. And then I found out on Monday evening that I had booked for the wrong date, which is a big deal. And it came with a $6,000 cancellation fee.
Nearly 7,000.
Nearly 7,000. And so I had to tell my manager and another manager that I had made a huge mistake. And what started out as me just going in there like trying to be tough, I actually did that, but as soon as she started talking to me, I started crying. I was like, please don't fire me. I love working here. I'm sorry I made this mistake. It was in the program. I promise. I just relied on that. And I'm not fired, thankfully. And while we were here, I actually got a great email about it while we were sitting here. But yeah, I was very emotional all week. I called Katie. I was going to quit my job. I called my mother and told them that I was going to get fired. My partner had to like coddle me to sleep. I was sure I was gone. But thankfully, I still have my job. I was not blamed. They blamed the program where the information was entered, and it's been taken care of. So I am very happy. But I was très emotional this week. I felt all of the emotions. You went through all 7 stages of mourning. Is it 7 stages?
It was yeah, the Dabda. No, it was quite the journey, I will admit. We were going to record on Monday night, but then we were mostly just talking about this. And again, my husband, the frustrated lawyer, active comedian, talked to Marie and talked her off of the ledge and was like, oh no, that's not on you. And then like lawyered the way of like, you did what like the information was given to you. So that's all you you knew. And it was so sweet though. I remember I got a text from you that you were like, I did end up crying a little bit in front of my boss. And I was like, good, show them the anxiety. Because as we talked about, I think last night, those kinds of mistakes in other jobs where people don't take responsibility for things will make it your responsibility. And like that is such a shitty place to come from and have that much anxiety. But then to be able to freely, and not only did it work out really well and they commended you for the catch, but they've also been making fun of you for crying. And
they sure have. I have been the joke of the week at work, so that's great. But yes,
which is it's huge. And that's it. Like, yeah, I'm very proud of you.
Yeah. So that's when I was a tad, let's say, emotional. What about y'all?
So I'm trying to think of a specific example because I cry so often that Barb has just like, she'll just feel it coming before it even happens. Now I've cried reading books. So we haven't even said this, but Erik is one of the hosts of YAOK, which is a podcast I produce for the network about young adult novels. He's written young adult novels. I've yet to meet a young adult novel that hasn't made me cry while I'm reading it. And Barb will always ask about it, and she's like, why is reading this? And also I must stress, I am very straight. It is always the queer YA novels that get me crying when I'm reading it. And she's like,
called empathy.
And she goes, why are you crying? And I said, because they're discovering themselves and being accepted. There's been times where we'll just be watching a TV show and I'll start crying and she'll ask and I'll say, because they're all so nice to each other. Like it's like Shrinking. Every Wednesday when I watch Shrinking, I need a box of tissues because it's so wholesome that my heart just can't take it anymore. And I start, it was the same with Ted Lasso. I couldn't get through an episode of Ted Lasso without crying. And it's never like, oh, someone died and that's really sad. It's like you're crying because it's just like, gee whiz, isn't everyone so nice to me?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So those are probably the biggest like what was the phrase, the softy? That's the biggest softy situation I've had, is just crying at every and anything. I think at one point it was just 2 elderly people and I said, I'm just so happy they're still there. They're still going. Look at them.
Oh, I love that. Erik?
I'm like kind of the opposite. I love this. It takes a lot for me to cry. However,
well, that explains why you kill your characters with no regarding your books.
Yeah.
Making me cry on a train to San Diego Comic-Con. I'm texting you. I'm crying on the train.
But there is, so I teared up recently. I actually full on sobbed this week, which I will get to in a second. But I teared up recently. I was at a book festival in Chappaqua, New York, and they do a children's book festival every year. And I've been going for the past 3 years now, ever since my first book came out. And the first year, I was there with just my one book, and this girl came up, and she was probably 11 and started asking me about the book. I pitched it to her. She bought a copy. I signed it for her. She came back the following year to buy my second book, and she was like at my table. She's like, "I'm so glad you're here this year. I loved your first book so much. I can't wait to read this book."
Oh.
And this year she came back again, and this year her entire family was with her, and they were all like, "Oh, she made us read the first book. She was there to buy my sequel, which had just come out in May, and this was in September." They were like, she wanted to wait to buy it. Her birthday was in July. We tried to buy it for her then, and she told us, "No, I want to see him in person in September." And so she basically got her entire family to go to this book festival. And then I find out her grandmother stays behind to talk to me, like after I sign her book and everything. I find out they're from Maryland. They just happened to be here the first year I was there. They just happened to be there, and she bought the book and has asked her parents since every year to drive them probably 4 hours from Maryland to Chappaqua. And her entire family came up this time, and all of them were so nice and thankful. And they were like, "We just want to say thank you because of your book. She started reading more, and she loves reading now." And now I'm like so excited to see her next year. So that is one thing that, like, as soon as her grandma left, I turned to the guy that was at the table next to me, and I was just like, "Wow, it's really nice." He had like way more books, and like he was like, "Yeah, I always love when that stuff happens." But
so sweet.
I will say, can't hear you, Matt. You think you're on mute?
Right, mute it for the baby that was enjoying a cookie.
I get that.
First of all, was there any part of you that was like, I should tip them off that I live near Maryland and like
I did. I told them, I was like, "Well, I will come down there."
Yeah, or just you do a lot of book signings in Philly. It's a much shorter drive.
I said that. I was like, "Just come on up to Philly." But I did. I went to Maryland last weekend, and there's a new bookstore in this town that I go in called St. Michael's. So I'm going to go down there, and I will hopefully see her there, so she doesn't have to drag her family 4 hours up.
Very sweet story, but also very unnecessary.
I think they do have like other people up there that they're visiting. So she just kind of like says, "We should go up there this weekend." They're like, "Oh, okay, yeah,
Okay,
sure,
that
fine."
makes sense. As long as,
That's
I
good.
mean, not to crap on the story, but dear Lord, they're like an
But
hour
that's what
away
I
from
said.
where you live.
Which books were they? And if you don't mind, please promote your books.
Wow, hold on, I have them all right
He always
here.
has visual
So,
aids ready.
yeah, well, it's my computer is on a stack of my own books here. So this is my first. It's a post-apocalyptic romance called All That's Left in the World. This is my second one. It is a coming-of-age rom-com that takes place at the old folks' home that Matt Kelly and I were actually working in high school.
Oh,
And I only have the UK cover, but this is the sequel, The Only Light Left Burning,
yes.
the sequel to All That's Left in the World. And this is the one that made Matt cry on a train.
They've all made me cry. Just the other two were on a plane, and that one was on a train.
I'm curious if my fourth one's going to make you cry, because it's a really dark thriller that I've been told twice now that is too terrifying and violent, and I need to dial it back a bit. So
Ooh.
Well,
I've never been told to dial it back before. So.
I'm sure it'll still bring tears. I do have, you sparked a convention memory for me. And this is a sad story. I'm going to give you guys all the preemphasis. This is a very sad story. But there was this horror convention that I used to love doing in Virginia called Scares That Care, where the entire convention was to raise money for one random sick child each year. They would pick a child that they were sponsoring, and they would have a giant convention, and like all of the people who were there to sign would give their donations, and the vendors would give like a portion of their proceeds and whatever. So I'm in Virginia all by myself doing this convention. And while I'm there, I get a phone call, and it's a phone call to let me know that my best friend from high school had unalived themselves the night prior. And I'm just like sitting there, and I'm like, all right, I got to get through today. I'll like, it's like, bottle it up. When this is over, you'll go upstairs to the hotel room, and you'll just like, you will feel the emotions that you need to feel. So this girl comes over to my table maybe 25 minutes later, and we're talking, and she says, yeah, I'm not really even supposed to be here, but I felt like I needed to come. And I said, oh, what happened? Why? And she goes, I was supposed to be here with my fiance, but he died last week in a car accident. But he was so looking forward to this that I felt like I owed it to him to show up. And I said, I just found out my best friend died. And then we both just started crying, and she was just like, can I hug you? And I was like, yes, you can. And we just stood in the middle of this convention. And now we text each other every couple like weeks just to check in. Like, this was maybe 4 years ago, but we've like remained in touch. But that was like a very public, in the middle of a convention, just two strangers holding each other crying for like 5 minutes. That's definitely one of my more like emotional moments, but also just says like why conventions are great, man. Like,
yeah. 100%.
I don't think I've ever been more vulnerable than I am at conventions sometimes.
Oh, I love that story. That is beautiful.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. All right, you win
Katie
that
might
one.
have this being the moment that she cried.
Yeah. Dude, I'm like you, Matt. I cry at everything. The freaking dog commercial comes on and I'm in tears.
Listen, this is a rough season because it's all Christmas and Thanksgiving movies that actually I just cried like 2 weeks ago at a TikTok that someone sent me of Steve Martin talking about how much he missed John Candy, and I started crying. I was like, I can't do this. This is like,
it's the
actually one of the reasons I don't follow animal accounts on social media is because I know at some point those animals die, and I don't want to be around for it.
That is
I would follow like a few, like when I first started Instagram, and then I was like, oh my god, you're so cute, and I went one day, I clicked it, I was like, wait, you're gonna die someday. No.
In the immortal words of Paul F. Tompkins, pets, countdown to sadness.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, we are just at the hour, and Katie, you're doing double duty here.
I am.
So I would say, Erik, if you want to one last time, just quickly plug your books and your podcast.
Sure. Oh, I got a whole screen too. You can buy my books wherever you buy books. Here they are. The Only Light Left Burning, All That's Left of the World, Lose You to Find Me. And then you can come to our YAOK podcast on Instagram. It's at YAOK podcast. And tell us what you think about it. Unless you hate it. Don't tell me that. Just keep it to yourself.
I listened and I loved it. Just so you know, it's great.
Oh, thank you. And then Katie and Marie, unless you have anything to plug, Katie, you should give us the setup for this sketch that I'm about to play.
Well, I'd say, Erik, you are always welcome to come back on Napping Through Happy Hour for a full episode, especially when you release that scary novel or even before. Let us know. But yes, please check out Napping Through Happy Hour. You can find it wherever you get podcasts.